Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Today, we're going to be looking at a topic that I think is on everyone's mind
Hmm.
at some point in their lives, and that's relationships.
Yeah.
And, specific.
That point where you kind of got to make that tough decision
Yeah.
about whether to stick it out or to
Call it a day, right?
absolutely.
I've got this article here that's got some really interesting thoughts.
And one of the things that it brings up that I thought was kind of
Scary to think about is
yeah,
that love isn't always enough
yeah,
to make a relationship last.
it is a bit daunting,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Absolutely.
You think that love conquers all and all that, but this article makes this really interesting point.
That the longer we're with someone, the more we just get used to their quirks
Right.
and our dynamics become normal, even if they're not healthy. You
Exactly.
just kind of accept it.
You know, I think
What they're getting at in the article is that, if you were to just meet that person and they were behaving in that way.
you're like, whoa, red flag.
Yeah, exactly.
But because it sort of creeps in over time.
We get used to wearing those, I don't know, rose-colored glasses or
You
something.
get used to it, yeah.
So how do we kind of...
Take those glasses off and see things clearly. I mean, really is love not enough?
Well, so love is definitely a crucial ingredient.
It's the foundation, right? But think of it like building a house.
Okay.
You can have the most solid foundation, you could be on the best ground,
Right.
but if your walls are crooked and the roof leaks,
You're in trouble.
you're going to have problems, right?
Yeah.
So love needs more than just itself,
It needs healthy communication, shared goals.
those kinds of things, to really make it work long term.
I see. Okay.
So let's get into some of those patterns then.
What are some things that maybe our listeners should be looking out for?
Things that maybe they don't even realize are harmful,
Sure, sure.
but have become kind of normalized in their relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's start with something that's pretty common. Constant criticism.
Okay.
It might start subtly, little comments here and there, but
Right.
over time, it becomes normal for one partner to just pick apart the other.
Yeah. And they both just think that that's how they are.
Exactly. And because it's been happening for so long, they might not even realize how damaging it is.
Right.
But that kind of constant negativity just chips away at self-esteem and creates a really toxic environment.
That makes sense.
What else? What other kind of things should we be thinking about?
Another big one is lack of emotional support.
Oh, okay.
This could look like, consistently dismissing your partner's feelings.
Or not being there for them when they're struggling with something.
So you're saying, even though they're in a
They're
relationship.
kind of going through those tough times on their own.
Yeah, exactly. And again, if this has become the norm, it's easy to overlook.
Right.
But it leads to this deep sense of loneliness and disconnect.
Which then I bet would make it even harder.
To have like good communication when there's disagreements and stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that brings us to another important pattern. Unhealthy conflict resolution.
Mm-hmm.
So, think about how you guys handle disagreements. Do you sweep things under the rug?
Or do you constantly argue without ever really resolving anything?
I see.
Both extremes can be really problematic.
Right, so it's like you're either
Letting things build up and build up, or you're
Right.
constantly...
fighting about them.
Exactly.
Neither one of which is good.
Neither one is good, no. They both prevent you from really connecting and growing together.
Okay, so recognizing the pattern.
Yeah, is the first step.
Right.
But how do you know?
If you should actually be putting in the effort to try to work on it.
Or if you're kind of banging your head against the wall with something.
It just isn't going to work.
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And that's where understanding the difference between healthy effort and incompatibility comes in.
Okay, so tell me more about that.
So healthy effort is when both partners are actively trying to make positive changes.
It's about communicating openly, being willing to compromise, and seeking help if you need it.
Got it.
Like therapy, for example.
So it's not just about trying harder. It's about being smarter,
Exactly.
how you're approaching those challenges.
Exactly. And doing it together as a team.
But if you find yourself constantly trying to change your partner's core personality,
Right.
or they're just not willing to address their part in the unhealthy patterns,
Then you might be dealing with incompatibility.
I see. So it's almost like you're trying to make a square peg fit in a round hole.
Yeah, kind of. And sometimes, as hard as it is,
The healthiest thing you can do for both of you is to let go.
this has all been so insightful. It's making me...
Really think about my own relationships in a whole new light.
I'm curious, before we wrap up, what final thought would you want to leave our listeners with?
Well, I'd say if you're at that crossroads,
Really take some time to reflect on the why behind your desire to stay or leave.
okay,
Ask yourself, What needs are being met in the relationship?
What needs aren't being met? What are your hopes and dreams for the future, both individually and together?
And I like that.
Getting clear on your own motivations and desires.
Is so essential for making a decision that feels right for you.
Such good advice.
On that note,
We're going to wrap up this deep dive,
thanks for joining us.
and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.